407 years ago, our fathers brought forth upon this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty.
I guess I really don't know what Christmas is all about. Isn't there anyone who knows what Christmas is all about? Sure, Charlie Brown. I can tell you what Christmas is all about.
You tell them I'm coming, and hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me! In the book Life of Reason, philosopher, writer, and essayist George Santayana famously penned the words, "Those that cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it." And what Santayana was referring to is the failures that occur when people do not learn from their past mistakes and continue in misguided ways. And in a larger sense, the tragedies that can occur when societies fail to learn, buries the truth of past mistakes, ignores, revises atrocities, or worse, simply forgets. Good morning and welcome into Unknown America. This is the Unknown America version of the Michael Hart Show on the Heart of America Talk Radio Network, brought to you in part by Liberty One Tech and the Unknown America Project. On the Wednesday edition of the program, we mix things up just a little bit and get into deeper into American history so that people might have a better understanding of what's going on around them. Now, this was all inspired, this particular episode is inspired by the book Unknown America, which is the parent to Unknown America 2, Unknown America for Kids, and a couple other things we're working on, which is why we call it the Unknown America Project. The book itself covers myths and little-known oddities about the greatest nation on earth, where we debunk many of the most vibrant myths of American history and set the record straight, because we are fully believe that if you don't understand this country's history, you don't know the past, you don't know the facts, then things like what happened last night are really befuddling. And yes, we are going to take a little bit of a traipsing through the president's immigration pitch last night, and then a response by Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer from the perspective of history, because there's a lot of history in the past, and if you forget your American history or you did not know your American history, then, well, what you heard last night might not make a whole lot of sense to you, or you might find yourself falling victim to one belief over the other, when that particular belief is not necessarily rooted in reality. Also, in today's broadcast, we'll traipse a little bit through the chapter on unknown sports. We are coming off of the college football championship game a couple of days ago. We're not going to talk so much about the game, but we are going to talk about some of the things that you might not know from the playing fields of America, historically speaking. So today, we're doing immigration, historically speaking, and sports. Makes total perfect sense, doesn't it? Well, hopefully it will here shortly. We're also going to do something that I think is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to take part, and I do mean a small part, of the immigration and naturalization test. To be naturalized in this country and become a United States citizen, you must take a long test. Just the civics and history portion of it is 100 questions long. If you fail the test, then obviously you have to go back and take it again to become naturalized. I offer that a huge portion, forget illegal immigrants for a moment, a huge portion of you do not know enough American history to be an American citizen. Now, I passed the test, but that's because that's what I do. I can't say that I passed any other aspects of the naturalization test, but at least the history portion of it I survived. So we're going to take a little look at the naturalization process in this country, coming off of last evening's roughly 8 or 9 minute plea by the President of the United States as to why he should get the money to fund the wall. And, of course, the shutdown continues on and may very well go on for some time. I've actually done a couple of hits. I even did John Hagee's program, the Hagee Hotline, just yesterday out of Texas talking about immigration. I'll be on America Trends TV, I believe it's tomorrow, doing something similar. I'm sure when I visit with Joe Lockett, we'll cover that on Thursday's edition of Outspoken, coming to you right out of Birmingham, Alabama on Alabama Cable Network. I've had several other people approach me in the press that want to talk about the shutdown as well. And, of course, the shutdown partially facilitated by the position of Donald Trump on immigration and the wall. So a lot of people are asking the question as to why he's so committed to the wall. Well, now it's taken on somewhat of a personal tone. And I think it's personal for both Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi as well. And neither one of these seems to be willing to bend and or capitulate. But why don't we do something here that we have failed to do in this nation for the past several years, if not decades, and that is take a look at it through the eyes or from the perspective of the men that gave birth to this nation. Because if we forget the past, we are not necessarily always condemned to repeat it, but we don't learn from it. It's no mistake that the overwhelming majority of people in this country that are the most successful have simultaneously been some of this nation's biggest failures. And the reason that is that you learn from your mistakes, you take risks, you probably take more chances than the average guy on the street. But the point is, when you do something and it fails, you don't do that again. You learn from your past mistakes. We in this country seem to fail to do that. Now, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind, and I mean none, as in zero, not a butkus. No doubt in my mind that what the Democrats really want here is to pad the voter rolls. Ironically enough, for anyone that studies history, the Founding Fathers actually warned of this. They made it clear that the purpose of allowing foreigners into the new nation was not to recruit millions of new voters or to secure permanent ruling majorities for political parties. It was to preserve, protect, and enhance the republic they put their lives on the line to establish. You have to remember something about the Founding Fathers. They were the rebels of their day. They were every bit as rebellious, if not more so, than those that drew arms against the North during obviously the Civil War. The Southerners are often called rebels, and I guess you could say they were rebellious. But their degree of rebellion when compared to the Founding Fathers is, well, let's just say it's less. And the reason for that is that they were going to fight a long war that, frankly, they were much better prepared to fight than the colonists of the day. In addition to that, in the colonial times, these guys would have been almost immediately hung. They put their lives on the line to establish a political ideology, an ideology of governance that subsequent generations have been working vehemently to dismantle. In a 1790 House debate on naturalization, James Madison wrote, "It is no doubt very desirable that we should hold out as many inducements as possible for the worthy part of mankind to come and settle amongst us, and to throw their fortunes into a common lot with ours." But why is this desirable? Staying with the quote, "No, not because diversity is our greatest value. No, not because big business needs cheap labor. And no, not merely to swell the catalog of people. No, sir, it is to increase the wealth and strength of the community, and those who acquire the rights of citizenship without adding to the strength or wealth of the community are not the people we are in want of. Everybody had a role to play. There's a very interesting book that was written by Sebastian Junger some years ago called Tribe. And although the book has been accused of promoting socialism, for those that have actually read it cover to cover, and I'm one of them, it does not. It does, however, promote somewhat of a tribal view of life, meaning community. But what's interesting is that Junger notes that in a tribal community, the weak links in the community are ostracized. And I don't mean weak because they're sick. I mean those that are not making a contribution to the betterment of the community. If you are a thief, you're immediately exonerated and ostracized. Completely ostracized, not exonerated, but maybe in time, but you are ostracized from the community. That was me malapropping, by the way. It's important to note that in these tribal environments, you are expected to be of service to the betterment of the group. When the Founding Fathers spoke of morality, and I've covered this so many times, they were not talking about the lack of promiscuity. They were talking about the morality of service to the community, to mankind, to humanity, to one another, because it was a matter of survival. If you think about it, it kind of goes back about, 2 or 3 weeks ago, when we did one of the situational security broadcasts with Kevin Reeve, where we're talking about ways to be prepared in the event of a mass incident, whether or not it be an electromagnetic pulse or the Salvation Army attacks. And that, this sense of community, you have a doctor over here, an engineer over there, a guy who owns a chainsaw over here, this guy knows how to plant butter beans, those kind of, when you come together as a community and work to survive, the Founding Fathers understood that philosophy, and they understood that that was what it was going to take to forge the new nation forward. And so they were completely unwilling to allow just anybody in to exploit the resources that they had worked so hard to achieve. This is what Trump and the whole immigration debate is all about. This is what the president is trying to convey to people. You want to come here, fine. But you're going to have to prove your worthiness. You're going to have to know the history of this country. You are absolutely positively going to have to assimilate. Madison argued plainly that America should welcome the immigrant who would assimilate, but would exclude immigrants who could not, quote, readily incorporate himself into our society. These people that come here from El Salvador or Honduras or Mexico and immediately brandish their nation's flags and don't want to learn English and, they don't want to participate in society. They want their own more or less, virtual society, or would it be redundant society that's parallel to the American society. They want their enclave, their little Italy, their Chinatown. They want these enclaves like you see in Michigan, in Muslim communities. No, that's not what the Founding Fathers had in mind. They want people to come here that contribute. If you've ever read the book Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand, and you should, the community that John Galt creates is a microcosm of America, where everyone there is there to contribute. And if you have nothing to bring, you are not invited in the case of Atlas Shrugged, or welcomed in case of the Founding Fathers. In a letter to John Adams, George Washington emphasized that immigrants should be absorbed into American life so that, quote, by an intermixture with our people, they or their descendants get assimilated to our customs, measures, laws, in a word, soon become one people. In 1802, Alexander Hamilton writes, quote, the safety of a republic depends essentially on the energy of a common national sentiment, on a uniformity of principles and habits, on the exemption of the citizens from the foreign bias and prejudice, and on that love of country, which will almost invariably be found to be closely connected with birth, education, and family. Hamilton further warned that the United States have already felt the evils of incorporating a large number of foreigners into their national mass by promoting in different classes different predilections in favor of particular foreign nations and antipathies against others. You got to bear in mind, this is written in 1802. Promoting different classes, different predilections, and antipathies against others. Sound familiar? Going back to the quote, it has served very much to divide the community and to distract our councils. People here that are not assimilating foreigners into by their national mass. In 1802, according to Alexander Hamilton, it has served very much to divide the community, speaking of the country, and to distract our councils. It has been often likely to compromise the interest of our own country in favor of another. Dare I make the point that from that perspective, Donald Trump is more of a United States American philosophy statesman than anybody in the Democrat Party. And not to be prejudiced, many in the Republican Party. He is espousing, although he probably does not know it, he is espousing many of the beliefs of the Founding Fathers. It's kind of like Nathan Bedford Forrest, the Confederate general, asked one time about his military strategies. And one time he actually famously said, if you want to win any battle, you must get there first with the most men. It was interesting that one historian actually pointed out that Nathan Bedford Forrest was channeling the Chinese general Sun Tzu, who wrote to bring superior force to bear. No one knows if Nathan Bedford Forrest ever read Sun Tzu, but it is very interesting that his battle strategies eerily parroted the philosophies of a general that lived centuries prior. Is Trump is he channeling the Founding Fathers? It's hard to really know. But his ideologies certainly fall in line with theirs as he continues to advance the notion of shutting down the borders. Because one of the things you have to remember here, folks, we're not talking about shutting people out. We're talking about closing the door and letting them in on our own terms rather than theirs. Hamilton also predicted correctly that the permanent effect of such a policy will be, this is the policy of open immigration, that in times of great public danger, there will always be a numerous body of men of whom there may be just grounds of distrust. The suspicion alone will weaken the strength of the nation, but their force may be actually employed in assisting an invader. Now, damn, listen to that again. This was written 217 years ago. The permanent effect of a policy will be immigration, that in times of great public danger, there will be always a numerous body of men who have we heard coming across the border, despite all the pictures of little babies and nursing moms, most of them men, a numerous body of men of whom there may be just grounds of distrust. The suspicion alone will weaken the strength of the nation, but their force may be actually employed in assisting an invader. Man, you gotta love you some history. Why do y'all think I have such a relationship with it? These were some bright cookies. And anybody that studies American history knows what's going on in this nation today. They're not befuddled by it. They're not confused by it. They might be a little overwhelmed by it. But at the end of the day, history tells us exactly what's coming. That's one of the reasons why, through the naturalization process, and we're about to take a break here, not a break in the programming, but a break from this, because I can give you these quotes all day long, and take the naturalization test, at least the history portion of it. Because most of you aren't qualified to be an American from the history test perspective. Hamilton also opined, the survival of the American Republic depends upon the preservation of a national spirit and a national character. To admit foreigners indiscriminately to the rights of citizens the moment they put foot in our country would be nothing less than to admit the Grecian horse into the citadel of our liberty and sovereignty. Beware Greeks bearing gifts. Yeah, if only they had learned that lesson. The preservation of a national spirit and a national character, to admit foreigners indiscriminately to the rights of citizens the moment they put foot in our country, would be nothing less than to admit the Grecian horse into the citadel of our liberty and our sovereignty. That's what the Founding Fathers thought about immigration. All are welcome to apply. But when you apply, you must be expected to comply. You must become an American. If you don't have the best interest of your community at heart, if you don't want to come here to contribute, see, those that want to come here and be naturalized, they typically bear one commonality. They want to be American. They want to come to the party. Hell, folks, the majority of you won't even go to a Christmas party without taking a casserole. You don't show up at somebody's house without bringing a gift. I don't care what that trinket is. The way the policies are now, this is tantamount to driving down the street, seeing a party going on, the people that you don't even know, you knock on the door and expect to be welcomed in with open arms and getting fed and drinking their good liquor. That's not the way life works. That's not the way humanity works. That's certainly not the way community works. So why in the living heck do we expect that the way the border should work? Hamilton knew exactly what Rand wrote about, what Washington espoused, what Madison demanded. Come, but you better be bringing something. You better be bringing something to this community, and you better darn well assimilate into it as well. They were so desirous to have people that would be willing to assimilate and to Americanize themselves that they even created hurdles to do it. You had to win citizenship. You had to pass a test. You had to prove that you studied this country, that you knew about this country. We make it more difficult for teenagers with a 3.0 in high school to get into their favorite college than we do for people to get into this country. And every time one of them crosses in and begins receiving benefits without contribution, our personal wealth diminishes. But it's not just about the wealth of money in the bank, it's the wealth of resources and options and opportunities. If all you bring is manual labor, then work your manual labor. But don't become a burden on the system, which is what many of them have done under the auspices and guise of sanctuary. Many of them cannot read, let alone pass a test that demands they understand the underpinnings of this country. I'm not going to give you the answers. However, we are going to read the questions. In the history portion alone, there is 100 questions, and they are not multiple choice. You can, if you so desire, Google the naturalization test for the United States government. There are even websites where you can test. Those particular sites are, in fact, multiple choice. These, however, are not. How many of them can you answer? We're going to go through all 100 of them. We will take a brief respite and reset and take a look at the Unknown America, the unknown sports chapter in the book Unknown America, because it's not just about the founding fathers, the framers, or the political history of this country. We also cover religious history, sports history, and some ethnic histories as well as some Americana. You can pick up a copy of the book, or you can download it. You can download it by just go over to heartofamerica.net. There's a link over to the Amazon download link, or you can pick up a hard copy that I'll autograph and send out to you free shipping, autograph, and a copy of the Constitution. How about that? I'll send you a copy of the Constitution absolutely free. A lousy $15. So go over to theunknownamerica.com. And by the way, if you're listening to us online, on Twitter, Periscope, maybe you're over there on the Facebook feed, maybe you're listening to us on the Blog Talk platform, or a little bit later on in the day in Spotify, Apple Store, all those other tunes and all those other kind of places, do me a solid and share the program. This is the kind of stuff people need to be aware of. If more people knew what the founding fathers thought about this country and thought about this nation and pre-warned us about, maybe they'd get their heads out of their backside, the cork out of their anus, and not worry so much about what Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer have to say. Let's do the right thing. Let's do what the founding fathers want, or let's just go ahead and put a cork in this baby, turn the lights off, and shut America down, because we're losing it, and we're losing it in real time. And not only would the founding fathers be aghast, they'd be pissed. And every damn one of us, they'd be pissed. And if you can't tell, I'm a little pissed. There's too much intellectual capitulation that takes place in this world, in this country. Oh, somebody's going to take care of it. Somebody's got it. Somebody will make it right. Trump will win. Save us, Mr. Trump. Save us, Mr. Trump. Yeah. If only it worked that easily. You're running out of good, vibrant, true conservative talk, folks. And we're running out of time. There's too many people in this country. And by the way, let's just stop here for 1 second. I'm going to get down off my little horse here. How many of the people in the United States House of Representatives that were just inaugurated, go ahead and tweet it. I know. How many people in the United States House of Representatives that were just installed, given the oath of office, or whatever you want to call it, Alexandria, how many of them do you think are going to pass this test? Seriously. No, I'm being serious. Let's take a real quick break, come back to this side. We're going to take the naturalization test together, and then we're going to break into the unknown sports section of Unknown America, some stuff that's really, really, really fascinating that I think you'll enjoy. You're listening to Unknown America on the Heart of America Talk Radio Network, brought to you in part by our friends over at Liberty One Tech. Get a free security checkup when you join Liberty One Tech's VIP service. That's Talk Text Plus for only $20 a month. Find out more at liberty1tech.com, liberty1tech.com, and go check them out right now. They do a great job of keeping this program on the air and operating as smoothly as it does. They are one of the primary sponsors of the program, as well as our friends over at the Land Report, Alabama Water Management. You can find out more by going to ALAH2O.com. And, of course, the Unknown America Project, because we are here to dispel the myths of American history and get this little nation back on track through educating those that are just so unbelievably unaware of the amazing nation in which they reside. Stick around. We're coming right back, and we're going to naturalize you on the other side on this edition of Unknown America on the Heart of America Broadcasting Network. The Land Report, the magazine for the American landowner, is a proud supporter of the Michael Hart Show. Currently, they're offering an exclusive subscription price for listeners of the Michael Hart Show. So click on the subscribe button on landreport.com and enter the code HARTSHOW at checkout and receive a one-year discount on America's #1 land magazine. You'll get a full year of the Land Report, which normally goes for $59, for only $15. That's a 75% savings off the cover price. Again, that's promo code HARTSHOW at checkout of thelandreport.com, and make sure to check out the Land Report on Facebook if you love land. Heart of America and the Michael Hart Show is brought to you in part by the Unknown America Project. Unknown America Myths and Little-Known Oddities about the greatest nation on earth explores many of the falsehoods and fallacies and revisions in American history that impact the beliefs and the thoughts of many people in this country today. So if you'd like to learn some of the most enduring myths that have been perpetrated on the American public for the last 100-plus years in this country, go check out the book at heartofamerica.net. That's heartofamerica.net. And pick up a copy of Unknown America. It comes out to you absolutely no shipping, be autographed, and we'll even send you a copy of the United States Constitution as our way of saying thanks. So support the Unknown America Project by simply going to theunknownamerica.com, and thank you for your support.
It's the Michael Hart Show.
Come again?
The Michael Hart Show.
You know I don't speak Spanish. In English, please.
A liberal dose of conservatism.
How'd you do that? I'm not even mad. That's amazing.
American history to be a United States citizen? Let's take a real quick look at just the history questions that are on the naturalization test. And I'm going to suggest that a good number of folks listening to this program are not going to, they're not going to pass this test. And quite frankly, they're probably not going to be naturalized. Now, think about the total number of people in this country that probably are unaware of many of the questions on this test. And then let's think about those that are coming across the border illegally. And by our own U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service is suggesting that they're not qualified to be here. And I find that very interesting. But let's also think about those that have just been elected to federal office and how much about America they also don't know. Now, there is no literacy test to hold office, but there should be a literacy test as it relates to, well, what you are working for in terms of this nation. So, are you qualified to be a U.S. citizen, even if you are one? Some of these questions have more than one answer. And I'm going to read this directly from the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service website. Although USCIS is aware that there may be additional correct answers to the 100 civic questions, Applicants are encouraged to respond to the civics questions using the answers provided below. Now, I'm not going to give you the answers because we just don't have time, because this document I have is literally 11 pages long. And I'm going to talk a bit about some unknown sports, oddities from the playing fields in America that I think you'll find quite amusing. But answer in your head if you think those that are coming across our border illegally or those that have entered into our halls of Congress can answer a lot of these questions. Number one, what is the primary supreme law of the land? Number two, what does the Constitution do? It's looking for three answers. The idea of self-government is the first three words of the Constitution. What are these words? What is an amendment? Bear in mind, these are not multiple choice. You've got to answer them long form. What do we call the first 10 amendments to the Constitution? What is one right or freedom from the First Amendment? How many amendments does the Constitution currently have? What did the Declaration of Independence do? Number 9, what are two rights in the Declaration of Independence? 10, what is freedom of religion? What is the economic system in the United States? What is the rule of law? You have 4 responses you have to give to that. Number 13, name one branch or part of government. Number 14, what stops one branch of government from becoming too powerful? Who is in charge of the executive branch? Who makes federal laws? What are two parts of the U.S. Congress? How many U.S. senators are there? We elect a U.S. senator for how many years? Who is one of your state's senators right now? The House of Representatives has how many voting members? We elect a U.S. representative for how many years? What is the name of your U.S. representative? Who does a U.S. senator represent? Why do some of the states, by the way, I'm going to stop on that one for a moment. Who does a U.S. senator represent? Many U.S. senators today believe that they represent the United States of America. No, the federal government says a U.S. senator represents the people of that state. Yeah, listen, they all should learn. Why do some states have more than representatives? Why do some states have more representatives than other states? You have 3 possible answers. We elect a president for how many years? In what month do we vote for the president? What is the name of the president of the United States now? What is the name of the vice president? If the president can no longer serve, who becomes president? If both the president and vice president can no longer serve, who becomes president? Who is the commander of chief in the military? Who signs bills to become law? Who vetoes bills? What does the president's cabinet do? What are 2 cabinet-level positions? What does the judicial branch do? What is the highest court in the United States? How many justices are on the Supreme Court? Who is the Chief Justice of the United States right now? Under our Constitution, some powers belong to the federal government. What is one power of the federal government? It gives you a suggested list. You have to hit one of the 4 it suggests. Under our Constitution, some powers belong to the states, which is one power of the state. Who is the governor of your state right now? What is the capital of your state? What are the 2 major political parties in the United States? What is one political party of the president's right now? What is the name of the Speaker of the House of Representatives? There are 4 amendments to the Constitution about who can vote. Describe one of them. What is one responsibility that is only for United States citizens? Name one right only for United States citizens. What are 2 rights of everyone living in the United States? What do we show loyalty to when we say the Pledge of Allegiance? What is one promise you make when you become a United States citizen? Let's go ahead and read that list real quick, shall we? Since we seem to have forgotten that one. What is one promise you make when you become a United States citizen? For those that's tuning in, we are reading the questions on the history portion of the naturalization test. Many people in this country would fail this test, and almost everybody coming across our southern border would certainly not pass. What is one promise you make when you become a United States citizen? You give up loyalty to other countries. That's the answer. That's number 1 that the United States Immigration and Naturalization Service is looking for. I'm just going to sit here for a moment and let that sink in. What is one promise that you make when you become a citizen of the United States? You give up loyalty to other countries. Other answers are defend the Constitution and laws of the United States, obey the laws of the United States, serve in the U.S. military if needed, serve, do important work for the nation, be loyal to the United States. How old do citizens have to be to vote for president? What are two ways Americans can participate in their democracy? When is the last day you can send federal income tax forms? When must all men register for selective service? Continuing on with American history, question number 58. What is one reason colonists came to America? Who lived in America before the Europeans arrived? What group of people was taken to America and sold as slaves? Why did the colonists fight the British? Who wrote the Declaration of Independence? When the Declaration of Independence, when was it adopted? There were 13 original states. You must name 3 of them. What happened at the Constitutional Convention? When was the Constitution written? The Federalist Papers supported the passage of the U.S. Constitution. Name the writers. Hello? What is the one thing Benjamin Franklin is famous for? Name one, and it wasn't lightning. Who is the father of our country? Who was the first president? What territory did the United States buy from France in 1803? Name one war fought by the United States in the 1800s. Ironically enough, the Civil War makes the cut. It shouldn't exactly be fought by the United States, but, you know, it's a government test. What do you want? Name the U.S. war between the North and the South. Actually, it had about 37 different names, so that's kind of a trick question. Name one problem that led to the Civil War. What was one important thing that Abraham Lincoln did? What did the Emancipation Proclamation do? What did Susan B. Anthony do? Name one war fought by the United States in the 1900s. Who was president during World War I? Who was president during the Great Depression? Who did the United States fight in World War II? Before he was president, Eisenhower was a general. What war was he in? During the Cold War, what was the main concern of the United States? What movements tried to end racial discrimination? What did Martin Luther King Jr. do? What major event happened on September 11, 2001? Name one American Indian tribe in the United States. And there's a lot of them to choose from here. Name one American Indian tribe in the United States. Going on to question number 88. Name one of the 2 longest rivers in the United States. What ocean is on the west coast of the U.S.? What ocean's on the east coast? Name one United States territory. Name one state that borders Canada. Name one state that borders Mexico. What is the capital of the United States? Where is the Statue of Liberty? What does the flag? Why does the flag have 13 stripes? Why does the flag have 50 stars? What is the name of the national anthem? Number 99, when do we celebrate Independence Day? And finally, number 100, name 2 national U.S. holidays. You must get 70 of these 100 questions correct to pass just the history portion of this test. Now, several of you probably did quite well because you listen to talk radio. If you're listening to a conservative talk radio program via a computer or device or whatever the case may be, you're probably pretty much up to speed with what's going on in the world around you. But imagine for one moment you're coming across a southern border into a country you know very little about. And you have to do everything in your power to learn as much as you possibly can, which is why Alexander Hamilton maintained the preservation of a national spirit and a national character. To admit foreigners indiscriminately to the rights of citizens the moment they put foot in our country would be nothing less than to admit the Grecian horse into the citadel of liberty and sovereignty. We come back on the other side. We're going to take a little look at the unknown sports from the book Unknown America on this edition of Unknown America, brought to you by the Heart of America Talk Radio Network. Y'all stick around. Coming right back.
Is your home's crawl space making your family sick? Let Alabama Water Management inspect your crawl space today. A wet, moldy crawl space can cause serious foundation problems. They are breeding grounds for disgusting odors, polluted air, potentially harmful allergens, and volatile organic compounds that can actually make breathing difficult and the air in your home very unhealthy. Don't take chances with your family's health. If your home has a crawl space, call Alabama Water Management today for a no-cost, no-obligation crawl space inspection.
Heart of America and the Michael Hart Show is brought to you in part by the Unknown America Project. Unknown America, Myths and Little-Known Oddities about the greatest nation on earth explores many of the falsehoods and fallacies and revisions in American history that impact the beliefs and the thoughts of many people in this country today. So if you'd like to learn some of the most enduring myths that have been perpetrated on the American public for the last 100-plus years in this country, go check out the book at heartofamerica.net. That's heartofamerica.net. And pick up a copy of Unknown America. It comes out to you absolutely no shipping, be autographed, and we'll even send you a copy of the United States Constitution as our way of saying thanks. So support the Unknown America Project by simply going to theunknownamerica.com, and thank you for your support.
That the rights of man come not from the generosity of the state, but from the hand of God. I have a dream that one day, down in Alabama,
Fourscore and 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth upon this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty.
I guess I really don't know what Christmas is all about. Isn't there anyone who knows what Christmas is all about? Sure, Charlie Brown. I can tell you what Christmas is all about.
you tell them I'm coming, and hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
Hey, welcome in. It is the Unknown America edition of the Michael Hart Show. Hello, I am Michael Hart and the author of Unknown America, Myths and Little-Known Oddities about the greatest nation on earth. The book details a lot of different things. We've talked a bit about the history of the founding fathers today and immigration, but we also get into things like unknown religion and unknown politics and so many things about America that you are probably unaware of. There's also a specific chapter in here that just gives you a little bit of unknown sports, if you will. And considering that we just came off of the National Football Championship game a couple of days ago, and folks are kind of in a sports frame of mind, we thought that we'd just take a quick little dance through the chapter, Unknown Sports, and this chapter is actually quite long, so I can't get too much into it. We don't dispel a lot of the myths of sports history in this chapter, but just kind of give you some insights that you might find just funny, interesting, compelling, and it's certainly entertaining. In the section, there's a subsection within Unknown Sports called Quick Sprints. and let's take a sprint through it. Jordan Spieth won just $61,000 less at one Masters tournament than Arnold Palmer won in his entire career. Roger Bannister held the world record in the mile for exactly 46 days. Did you know there's only 18 minutes of actual play in a regular 9-inning baseball game? When asked why he didn't win gold in cross country in the 2010 Olympics, Norwegian skier Bjorn Helmstedt said, "I think I've seen too much porn in the last 14 days. The phrase about a jockey winning something hands down originally referred to a jockey that won a race without whipping his horse or pulling on the reins. Horse racing's Triple Crown has been achieved just 3 times since 1949, all within a 6-year span in the middle 1970s, Secretariat, Seattle Slew, and affirmed in 1978. Only 11 hockey goalies have scored a goal in the history of the National Hockey League. The last time it happened was in 2013. The PGA record for the highest score on a par 4 hole is 16, set by Kevin Nain in 2011. Pardon me. Only 72 players in NBA history have attempted more free throws in their entire career than the 5,317 that Shaquille O'Neal missed. The night before the Miracle on Ice, American goalie Jim Craig played the video game Centipede with Soviet hockey star Sergei Markov at the Olympic Village. 4 U.S. presidents have been featured on the cover of Sports Illustrated: F. Kennedy, Ford, and Reagan, and Clinton. Only one city has won 3 major sports championships in the same year. Detroit in 1935, when the Lions won the NFL title, the Tigers won the World Series, and the Red Wings took home the Stanley Cup. Wilt Chamberlain won 3 straight Big 8 titles in the high jump and was actually introduced and inducted into the Volleyball Hall of Fame. While a player at Florida State, Lee Corso had a roommate named Burt Reynolds. Reynolds eventually dropped out of state, telling Corso that he was going to Hollywood to become a movie star. The longest recorded point in tennis was a 1984 women's match, which took 29 minutes with the ball crossing the net at 648 times. Only 10 quarterbacks in National Football League history have thrown half as many passes as Peyton Manning. The Boston Bruins name is spelled BQSTON Bruins on the Stanley Cup trophy for their 1971 title. In 1991, Michael Jordan, Bo Jackson, and Wayne Gretzky all starred in a short-lived Saturday morning cartoon called Pro Stars. Finally, out of the quick sprints, Major League Baseball umpires are required to wear black underwear while on the job in case they split their pants. Some more fun stuff from the chapter on unknown sports. In June of 1953, the Boston Red Sox destroyed the Detroit Tigers by a score of 17-1. The very next day, the Tigers lost the rematch when again the Sox racked up 17 runs. Which makes this story even more interesting is that all the runs scored in 1 inning in both games. Jack Nicklaus won his second Masters in 1965. It was the same year the Montreal Canadiens took home the Stanley Cup. The NBA championship was won by the Celtics, and Willie Shoemaker won the Kentucky Derby. In 1986, Nicklaus won his last Masters. Coincidentally, all 3 of the other same events occurred again. The odds of this happening are infinitesimally high. In 1984, quarterback Frank Reich recorded the most impressive comeback in the history of college football. His team, the University of Maryland, was down 31 points to the Miami Hurricanes when Reich was called in to sub for Stan Gelball. The Terps would go on to defeat the Canes 42-0 with Reich at the helm. 9 years later, the Buffalo Bills were 32 points down in their game against the Houston Oilers. Reich was subbed in for the injured Jim Kelly. He came on the field to lead the Bills to the greatest comeback in professional football history, defeating the Oilers 41-38. In the 20th century, before professional football existed and college football was all there was, an incomplete forward pass would earn a team a 15-yard penalty. But not only that, if the pass was incomplete and never touched, the defense then took possession of the ball. Though many coaches at the time regarded the forward pass as rather unmanly way to play, the lower level of contact that occurred during passing plays may have actually saved lives. In 1905, there were 18 football fatalities between high school and the college leagues. Fans of the Auburn University Tigers in Auburn, Alabama, have long engaged in the tradition of rolling the oak trees located at the corner of the campus adjacent to an old drugstore called Toomer's Drugs, this occurring after a victory. The area is affectionately known as Toomer's Corner. What many people do not know is that a sapling from one of the trees was planted on the grounds of the United States Capitol in Washington, D.C. The idea was spearheaded by U.S. Representative Dennis Ross, a 1981 Auburn graduate. The spot on that side of the house of the Capitol was chosen because it had been occupied by a tree in the original 1874 landscape design for the grounds by Frederick Olmsted. Dave Ferguson, the Chief Administrative Officer of the Office of the Architect of the Capitol, and also an Auburn graduate, a 1974 Auburn graduate, assisted with the project, and the addition of the tree was also approved by the House and the United States Senate. The young D.C. oak is actually frequently rolled by Auburn graduates who work on Capitol Hill after an Auburn victory. The Olympic Games have given us a lot to consider and ponder and be amazed and marveled by. But there's been some odd ones in the past. Over the years, many different sports have made their way into the Olympic lineup. And over the years, some competitions have been eliminated, and usually for good reason. Here are some of the stranger events that Olympic fans are no longer tortured by. Live pigeon shooting. The swimming obstacle course. It was the Paris's River Seine that was one of the only 200-meter obstacle swimming races in the 1900 games. Swimmers had to climb over a pole and row of boats before swimming under another row of boats. Believe it or not, in 1916, 1900, 1920 featured tug of war. Teams of 8 men had 5 minutes to pull their opponent 6 feet over a line. We also had long jump for horses. Rope climbing. Making an appearance in 5 Olympics beginning in 1896. Competition began from a seated position, and you used only your hands to climb up 49 feet. In Athens, in 1932, the climb was changed to 25 feet in later events. Okay, so also, sports teams. A lot of sports teams have some interesting names. Some have been called into question. Some are offensive, I suppose. Some just downright weird. In the town of Peking, Illinois, team there in the high school is actually named the Chinks. It is believed that Peking got its name because it's located on the exact opposite side of the globe from Peking, China. So in light of this discovery, they decided to name their athletic teams the Chinks. Frankfort High School in Frankfort, Indiana, is the home of the hot dogs. Despite the intimidating wiener dog mascot, the dogs actually stay in the perpetual losing season category. Although you probably thought it's something different, the Hard Rockers suit up to represent the South Dakota School of Mines. The Brain Trust at Mars High School in Pennsylvania thought a clever way to give a nod to the town by naming the high school football team, the Fighting Planets. In Mars High School, Fighting Planets. But, just putting the word fighting in front of any other word is not the way you name a team. Unless maybe you're from Mars. Grays Harbor College is a community college located in Aberdeen, Washington. This school fields men's teams for baseball and wrestling, women's teams for soccer, softball, and volleyball, and men and women's teams for basketball and golf. They are called the Jokers. The name actually is not proven to be an omen, as this Northwest Atlantic Conference school earns their shares of victories despite the name. When Santa Cruz joined NCAA's Division III in 1981, athletic officials presented the school with its first official mascot, the sea lion, but students were having none of it. After 5 years of dealing with the problem, an overwhelming vote was taken, and the students decided to rename the Santa Cruz athletic team the Banana Slugs. The nickname the Criminals was originally an insult hurled at Yuma Union High School by Phoenix Union High after Yuma defeated Phoenix for the state football championship. Yuma adopted it as their official team name in 1917. Ironically, after a fire damaged the school in 1910, Yuma High students moved to the Yuma Territorial Prison for a brief incarceration. The Corn Jerkers refers to the motion that was used to harvest corn before the invention of modern machinery. The Hoopeston, Illinois area high school has been resistant to keeping up with the times by, perhaps considering a name change to say maybe the Combines. The Space Pioneers is the name of the mascot of the Indianapolis High School. The school, built in 1962, adopted the Space Pioneers as a nod to the United States Early Man in Space program, which was underway during the school's founding. And no, the junior varsity team is not named the Space Cadets. Finally located in Macon, Georgia, the now defunct Whoopie was a professional hockey team that played from the mid-1900s until 2001 in Central Hockey League. Reportedly, the Macon Whoopie had no shortage of walk-ons looking for a chance to, make the team. One of the most enduring myths of American sports history is that a fellow named Abner Doubleday invented the sport of baseball in Cooperstown, New York in 1939. There's only one problem with this story. There's a small town in Massachusetts called Pittsfield that has in its possession a document dated 1791 that warns against playing games of several names, one of them called baseball, within 80 yards of the meeting house. The document is expressing concerns over the expense of replacing glass windows in the building. Abner Doubleday wasn't even born until 1823, casting serious doubt over his role in the sport's origination. Although Abner most assuredly did not invent the game, he may very well have influenced its spread and evolution. During the Civil War, Doubleday served as an officer in the Union Army and his troops often played a game they called baseball. The rules were frequently adopted to fit the grounds on which the game was being played, hence the term ground rules. And there's even more unknown sports in the book, Unknown America. Of course, it's on sale right now at theunknownamerica.com, theunknownamerica.com. If you've enjoyed the little tidbits that we've shared with you here, please consider picking up a copy of it. Spread the word of this broadcast as we're trying to continue to spread the Christian, conservative, sometimes cranky, content of the Michael Hart Show right here on the Heart of America Network. On Thursday's edition of the program, we will be joined by none other than Megan Barth of ReaganBabe.com. That's it for us. Wrapping it up right now. So check us out online at Heart of America. Check out our good friends over at Liberty One Tech. They have got some great tech support for those of you with your websites, your email, whatever the case may be. This program is brought to you in part by Liberty One Tech, the Land Report, Alabama Water Management. Find out more about them if you are local to the state of Alabama, even all the way up into southern Tennessee at ALAH2O.com. That's it for us. You've been listening to Unknown America right here on the Heart of America Talk Radio Network. Back with you tomorrow at 8. Show is brought to you in part by the Unknown America Project. Unknown America, Myths and Little-Known Oddities about the greatest nation on earth explores many of the falsehoods and fallacies and revisions in American history that impact the beliefs and the thoughts of many people in this country today. So if you'd like to learn some of the most enduring myths that have been perpetrated on the American public for the last 100-plus years in this country, go check out the book at heartofamerica.net. That's heartofamerica.net, and pick up a copy of Unknown America. It comes out to you absolutely no shipping, be autographed, and we'll even send you a copy of the United States Constitution as our way of saying thanks. So support the Unknown America Project by simply going to theunknownamerica.com, and thank you for your support.